One of the worst parts about trying to deal with this stroke and move on is that it's really been aggravating something about myself that I've discovered more and more about over the years. Um, I've been in therapy a couple times, um, and one of the things that constantly comes up is my sensitivity to rejection. Um, Funny thing is, when my sister um, had her son diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Um, my sister, being the big brain that she is, had to find out everything about it that she could. And so we started looking into it, and um, both she and I got diagnosed with it as well, and really started answering a few things that I've noticed about myself over the years. I kind of figured that I had ADD at least. Uh, Figured it out in the 80s when they started talking about it. Um, I was I was in almost high school. I think I was in high school when I started hearing about it. I guess 90s. Um, they're talking about difficulty paying attention, difficulty sitting still, um, noticing things in your environment that a lot of people don't. I'm like, yeah, that sounds a lot like me. Um, then my sister dug up an article stating that people with ADHD um, have what's called rejection sensitivity dysphoria, where because our brains don't produce as much serotonin and norepinephrine, we have a harder time dealing with rejection. And I'm like, yep, that's me. There have been many times throughout my life where I've tried to make friends or I've had a crush on someone, and for whatever reason, things don't work out and I just get crushed. And I had a friend named Dave. He seemed to bounce right back at the second that somebody didn't want to go out on a date with him, and I'm like, how does he do it? Um, I can know someone for 15 minutes, and if they don't want to be my friend, I'm just completely devastated. I've had dates that, first dates that didn't result in a second, and I'm depressed for a week. I've had, um, I've had times when I got a crush on somebody and they didn't reciprocate, and for a month I can barely get out of bed. So, of course, since the uh, since the stroke, I've been thinking more and more about that, and of course, one could say that my sensitivity with rejection also goes back to the fact that my father and I never had a relationship, or could go to my catastrophically low self esteem, which has always been an issue. But it's been making me, the dealing with the stroke has been making me even more sensitive to the topic of possible rejection. And it's something I've dwelled on a lot over my years, and it's a very deep-rooted fear. I've and it's something I've never gotten the control of, really. Something so deep and irrational and it really makes me embarrassed and somewhat disgusted with myself to say it even extends to my family. despite the fact that they've always gone out of the way to make sure they know, make sure I know how much they love me. But it's always been a part of who I am. I can always remember going all the way back to some of my earliest memories that at one point I realized the reason why I tried to help out and try to be as nice as possible and supportive and listen and help talk people through problems and why I got into massage um, has always been to try to make sure that the people closest to me never wanted to let me go. Um, I tried to make myself so valuable that they wouldn't want me to go. Also, one of the reasons why I don't like to cry in front of people. I don't care about all that masculine BS. But if you're too much of a drama queen, so that's why I've always focused a lot more on other people. Why I don't like to talk about my issues. Why I'd much rather let other people talk while I listen. I mean, eventually it just became a part of who I am because I like helping people. I like making people feel better. I like doing for other people. It's just who I am, but I'm pretty sure it came from the rejection sensitivity. And of course, now the stroke is my worst nightmare. It really is. From practically the moment that they told me about it in the hospital, this tiny little voice, this I have a few little demons in my head, and we'll talk about those later probably. And of course, one of mine jumped right on top of it, and he's like, nobody's going to want you now. Nobody wanted you before, nobody's going to want you now. Now that you're damaged.